Hello and welcome back to the RTB podcast. We're back again with the bet Premier League predictions, the goal scorers bet. We didn't do too great last year. We're hoping to come back with a vengeance this year. The whole team are in again. Mixer, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Adam, how you doing?
Very good, thank you. Very good.
Good. And finally, John, our last year's winner, by the way, we forgot to mention.
And the year before's, of course, but, we won't go there.
Not that you mentioned it every week.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
just clarify, he does pick the most obvious.
Oh, here he is. We got
Oh, back again.
Adam's got a hook in his mouth, and the pod's not a minute old. Unbelievable.
So last year we had a couple of wins. Got a nice tally. I think it was 300 quid or something, guys, was it?
356, if I remember correctly.
Oh, there you go. Mix a fact checking early doors.
That's a good one, though. Was that profit or loss?
Right. We're not going to get into that.
I think we worked out that we're probably about 20 to 30 quid down over the 2 seasons. But, look, we're going to put that right this weekend.
It's not a business model. Just to clarify, be responsible. Don't bet more than you can afford.
Yes.
Okay?
Well, don't bet anything.
2 years of research have shown us this. That it's not profitable.
Wait. Research is a loose term for this.
This is true.
So we're doing exactly the same as we did last year. 4 goal scorers in 90 minutes. We're going to try and do a bit more research this year. We're going to talk about this week. We're going to talk about transfers that are happening and may happen. We might touch on the West Ham subject, obviously, because of Dean Garner leaving. That's part of the transfer rumours. Oh, sorry, not rumours, done. And Mark Noble's tweet, which some people were saying was out of order. Some people completely agree with. So we'll get onto that topic soon. First of all, guys, I want to get your ideas on transfers, what's happening and what's not. Before we came on, was talking about the Sancho thing. It just seems to be going round and round. And as John says, it's a slow news day when the Sancho thing comes around. Do you guys see it happening?
Yes.
No.
Oh, there you go, straight away. Expand.
I think Dortmund have a lot of previous for this. There's a lot of hardball that's played. Dortmund, much like a lot of other clubs, particularly when it comes to English clubs, they've learned how to really play hardball to the point where clubs get itchy feet and will pay the extortionate amounts. I think case in point, Aubameyang was a really good example with Arsenal. I think it will get to, it may not happen for another couple of weeks. It may even happen like right at the sort of 11th hour. But I'd be stunned if Sancho's not in that United lineup by the middle of October, if I'm honest. I can't see them not. I think they've identified that's an area they want to improve in, and it wouldn't be unlike Man United to hit the panic button and pay the extra 20 odd million that's required or whatever it is that's wanted. So
where does he play?
I imagine he would go into their front three, like on the right, probably on the right of their front three.
When you're size of Man United, you've got loads of games coming up. If you're in and around the squad, right? So you don't buy a player to go straight in your first team. You buy a player to go into the mix, and then
it's a lot of money to spend on someone when they've already spent a fair chunk this summer already.
They've got plenty of money, haven't they?
Where are they getting it from?
They haven't spent too much, Man United, to be fair. They've only got one player, haven't they?
Chelsea's amount.
I think they've slung half of it trying to get Maguire back over here, haven't they? But it's been on legal fees, yeah. There's all this talk about Bale going there.
Hired a top lawyer.
Gareth, yeah. all this paper talk about Bale, and it just turns out it's Maguire coming back over. But...
Adam, don't see it happening, though.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I think it would have happened by now. Two trains of thought, but I think I do join up with your thinking. Is that if they're going to do it, they're going to push the panic button. I think they'll wait a season or more for him to develop a little bit more. John's saying they'll push the panic button. I don't think by the time October comes by, they're going to be in a position for panic. I think this Man United team's got the ability to be explosive. They'll come out of the blocks, start the season really, really well, and I reckon they'll start to fizzle later on in the season. I don't think they'll panic.
I think where panic, I don't mean panic as in necessarily the first team or so. I think it's more about the fans and the PR and the itchy feet that comes from that, because we've seen from last season how much Woodward particularly came under literal fire from their fans. It's I think they've made such a hoo-ha about publicly identifying Sancho as a target that I just find it very, very difficult to believe they won't get their man in the end. And I take your point about going into the mix when you're playing that amount of games. But I look at the first team as when you get to a pivotal game in your season, who is going to be in that team? And I think Sancho would always end up in that sort of first 11. So to me, that's my definition of first team at a club with that squad size.
He may do, but then is he really much of an upgrade on Rashford? What they've already got there? Is he also? For me, is it what they need? For me, if I'm looking at Manchester United squad, I'm thinking they probably need a number 9, and a central defender. A number 9 and a central defender. I would have thought through the spine of the team. I don't think they have a problem creating and scoring goals, but he's not a bad player. 120 million is a bit much, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I know we've talked about it before with the whole Chilwell thing. It's the English thing, isn't it? Young English players seem to have a different value to others. Because obviously, talking about the Chilwell thing, there's been a lot of talk about that, how much money he cost, and obviously Tierney was bought by Arsenal for half the money. So to sort of expand on that, who do you think's done good business? Who do you think's done bad business in this transfer window? I'll start off with you, Mixer. Who do you think's done well?
I think Spurs have done well so far. I think getting 2 players in for the amount of money they have, I think for the pair, Doherty and Højbjerg, was about 25 million. I think that's great money. That's what they need, a centre midfielder that can take the ball from people. Everyone knows they needed a new right back. I just think they've been shrewd. They've not took their time. They've gone for it. And if you believe what you read, they're looking for a striker now, which again is something we all know, and a lot of us know a lot, that the Spurs needed another striker, and that's what they're going to do now. It looks like they're buying players that they need, and not whatever's offered to them.
And that's the difference between the United thing. I think you're right. What you say, in years gone past, as Spurs fans, we've seen players been brought in and thought, why we don't need them, like wingers that we've already got. And whereas this has been like a pragmatic transfer window, and it's not the most exciting, and the names don't make you jump off your seat, but at the same time,
it's
going to help the
this
team.
point, I disagree. I'm happy.
There's precision and strategy behind. Sorry, I was just going to say there's precision and strategy behind what he's going after at Spurs. But then I would go far enough to say that it's not a good transfer window if they don't address the centre forward situation.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If they got rid of Aurier and didn't replace him with at least another backup, or there wasn't a good youngster coming through, that would be a bad choice.
I think Tanganga could be the one coming through at right back for me.
One team that I think is killing it at the moment is Chelsea. I think they have they've got that experience with Silva. They've got Kai Havertz has come through, Timo Werner.
Spent a lot of money on Havertz.
Ziyech as well.
Ziyech as well. Yes, I forgot about him. Yeah.
Sorry. It's him. Sorry.
Yeah,
And I don't think they're done either. That's the worry.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
I mean, it seems like they're doing what Chelsea do and throwing money at it. Not necessarily good money, but they're throwing money at it.
It's worked in the past, hasn't it? So.
Yeah, I was going to say you have to look at their record and say it's done them more good than harm. So
what do you make of Everton's buying? Because they've just what's his name the other day? Sorry.
Yeah, they was going to be my. They was going to be my.
Laughing.
They was going to be my choice actually. Decore, James Rodriguez.
Decore's actually signed, has he?
Yeah, he signed. 20 million.
I missed that one. Okay.
I know he was someone you liked as well, Sean Decore.
Oh yeah, great player, I think, and a mixer quote proven in the league.
Yes, 100%.
Oh, God, I'm back now. Sorry about that.
I think there's this could go one of two ways for Everton. I think it's more likely to go well. So I'm just thinking of that tweet that Mixer shared. We'll put it on the Facebook page later on. Good. Of you going Everton. We'll put it on the page. Keep
I think John might need a minute.
But
sorry, this is why I'm currently in the state I'm in. But yeah.
So they could be easily challenged for the top 4, or these guys could flop. Like this Allen guy. You've seen these types of profile players coming through. Is it Rodriguez his name? James Rodriguez?
Yes,
yeah. He's another one. He hasn't played. Doesn't feel like he's played at a good level for a long time. He seems like he's been in the reserves of Real Madrid for a really long time. Is he that player that we saw in the World Cup back then?
Yeah, never
But-
been proven in the league as well, as I always say to Sean. To be fair,
But Ancelotti is he's a good manager, so we could see them going one of two ways. They could end up third, or they could end up 16th.
That is very Everton.
It's weird because I actually I was kind of on the verge of choosing Ancelotti as like a surprise first manager out of a job sort of pick.
I completely agree with that.
Not because I thought he was going to be sacked. I thought that there was a point during the summer where they were so inactive and almost like it seemed like there was actually nothing even on the cards, that I thought he was just going to get fed up and walk away.
What, he was going to do a Pulis and walk out 3 days before the season started?
No, but do you know what? You can't say it doesn't happen. It's like I remember Martin O'Neill doing it at Villa. I think they had like one. They played like they might. He either left on like the eve of the season or he left after the first game.
Didn't Pulis do it at Palace as well?
Yeah, I think he did.
He did it at Palace. That was mad.
I think he's on a good contract. He's on good money. I don't think he's gonna go anywhere. I'd be surprised. I think he's gonna turn them around. The thing is, the competition is so fierce. I mean, you've got a really young, hungry team with Wolves, which they seem really, really well structured. It's going to be even hard to get into the top 6, really.
Yeah, I worry about Wolves that they might stagnate because even though we said on the last podcast, they haven't got European football, they'll be able to concentrate on the league. I thought they was going to strengthen, and I was very surprised they let players like Doherty leave because he played every game for him last year. They haven't addressed that right back situation yet, as I'm aware anyway. So I sort of worry about them.
It'd be an interesting season. It is kind of a. It's going to be a very big test of their ambition. I think, like you say, it's like two 7th place finishes in a row since coming up is incredible. To be a promoted side. I mean, I get the financial backing and the sort of the agent sort of influence that's there. But like to finish 7th, like in your first 2 seasons, is brilliant. Yeah. So I think it's a big test of ambition. Are they going to kick on, or are they just going to kind of hover around there, or drift a little bit further down?
So, is there anyone in particular, John, that you think's done good business?
I'm sort of looking at I'm sort of trying to look down the other end of the table and see is there anyone. I mean, I think in terms of addressing areas that need addressing, I think you look at Ollie Watkins signing for Villa, and you think it's a huge gamble because it may not translate to the Premier League,
but he would
it
stay
may
there,
be a
right?
case.
He would stay there if it went down, so it's still a bit of it's a decent investment, right? If they go down there, proven goal scorer at the lower level as well.
See, I hadn't thought of it like that, which is actually a really good.
It's a very good point.
So, I sort of look at Ollie Watkins and go, this could either be a stroke of genius, or you could find out that Villa and Bournemouth playing Villa and Brentford playing very different ways. Therefore, will Watkins sort of be as effective in that system?
Goal scorers are goal scorers sometimes as well. So yeah.
Well, from a Villa point of view, they've got to hope that, haven't they? So Sorry,
and another team that have done good business as well, sort of under the radar, would probably be Newcastle. They brought in Callum Wilson, another proven goal scorer. Ryan Fraser, who was touted to go to bigger clubs. Jamal Lewis, who was touted to go to bigger clubs.
Yeah.
So I think they've done some good business there as well. Bruce gets a lot of criticism. But,
unfairly as well.
Again, pragmatic signings. Right?
Just see if it materialises.
Yeah.
I don't think Bruce has ever done sort of like a bad job, like a particularly bad job with a side. I'm not saying that again. He's he hasn't been sort of like a revelation or anything, but he's certainly always got the best out of what he's had to work with at clubs.
I'm expecting them to do very well this season.
I just wonder if he can push on and get that extra step, because he's always got teams sort of there, but he needs to get them. Can he get a team into Europe? I don't know.
It depends on the players if they step up. For example, they've got some players there with some loads of potential, which is for example, San Maximan. I'm expecting him to have a really good season this season. I think he's got his confidence. I'm expecting him to have a breakthrough season this season. Actually, he's got a lot to go for him. And then Fraser is super consistent. He's a real thorn in your side.
Especially if you're a chairman.
Yeah.
and then you've got obviously Wilson is a proven goal scorer as well. I think if he didn't go through that injury, I think he would be actually probably further in his career than he is now. But still, you're right. I think Newcastle's a very good side. I expect them to be in the top half of the table, maybe 8th.
Wilson turned heads for me. I mean, would you guys have taken him as someone to back up to Harry Kane, or?
Definitely.
Maybe, probably.
The worry with him is he's very injury prone, isn't he? And if you're bringing someone in to back up someone that gets injured, then there's a possibility they can be injured at the same time. To be honest, I think Josh King's one that we should be looking at. I think
that's a name that I've heard linked this week. Actually, I have been hearing there's talk of that, but then I've also heard that you're obviously not you're far from the only club sniffing around. But
yeah, exactly. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the promoted teams. Obviously, you've got Leeds, West Brom. We're going to talk about in a bit more detail in a bit because of the whole Dean Garner situation. And Fulham. Obviously, Fulham have brought in a keeper from PSG today. I know we was talking before, and we think their defence is going to be their downfall, but he seems to be addressing areas there. So, what do you guys think about them sides?
Well, I mean, I'm a little upset that from a Southampton perspective that Harrison Reed's gone there on a permanent basis because I think with Højbjerg leaving us, that I think the time was right for Harrison Reed to step up and kind of like start to try and fill that void. Particularly when I don't think we've got the greatest of squad depth at the minute as well. So that was disappointing. But obviously from Fulham's point of view, that's a great signing. Mario Lemina's an interesting one. I'll be interested to see how he fares if they start badly. I don't know whether he's garnered a reputation for perhaps viewing himself as a little bit bigger than where he is. So if Fulham don't find themselves in a great position sort of 3-4 months into the season, I'd like to see what his attitude's like. Yeah. You
don't need them players if you're battling relegation, do you? Really?
No, not at all. And that's the thing. It's like, is it the right mentality? And it'd be interesting to see what Scott Parker does, just in terms of how he'll get on tactically against it's another young English manager coming into the league, which is always interesting. Possibly one of the Twitter videos of the season of last season with his if anyone's ever seen his "Dry Your Eyes, Mate" rendition, that they did after the playoff final. Absolutely superb bit of Twitter in that was, I have to say. But no, I do feel I look at Fulham and my fear for them is particularly when I watch them in the playoffs. The defensive frailties were very, very obvious at that level, and I don't feel like they've made enough moves to address that. Yeah. I think that if you concede goals easily at this level, as you saw with Norwich last season, you can play as pretty on the ball as you want. If you can't keep other teams out, you don't stand a chance at this level. No. It's a lot less forgiving.
Yeah, right.
Defensively, you've got to be sound, and I don't think. I mean, look at Sheffield United. Look how well they did, and they were quite defensively sound, weren't they?
I've got big questions around. I mean, I don't really know. I couldn't come up with a very good analysis of any of the teams yet because I really haven't seen them play enough. I think a lot of it. What I think will be an interesting dynamic is them losing. I can't see people going back to stadiums anytime soon, especially what we're seeing in the news with upticks, the second waves, etc. Yeah. So I've got a feeling that's going to get pushed back even further. So the idea of these teams probably losing half of their games, or let's say a quarter of their games, and half of those being at home. Sorry, half of those games being played, and maybe a quarter of them being played at home, or missing the opportunity to have your crowd back. It makes going to see Leeds or going to Fulham much less frightening, than
definitely. That's a good point.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, West Brom used to be a tough place to go. I remember, so you never knew where you were going to go. Even a place like West Brom, you never knew. If your team wasn't on it, then. So...
Oh, definitely. And I'll just give a quick shout out. We're going to be doing an RTB 200, which is a competition we've talked about before on the last podcast we've done, I believe. All of our predictions, 20-1 in the Premier League, top goal scorer, things like that. So look out on our socials for that. And now we're going to get into what everyone's tuned in for, which is our picks this week. We're going to start off with Adam this week. So I'm expecting either Chris Wood or a defender. So go ahead.
No, actually, I'm going to take a book out of. A leaf out of John's book. Nice. Pick the most obvious person as possible.
Here he is.
So I was thinking, should I go for Aubameyang or Mane?
Or Harold.
So Aubameyang, I think they're playing. So the thing is, they are tricky games, right? Because they're the promoted teams. So we don't know.
Arsenal have got Fulham away.
Yeah.
And then you've got Liverpool, got Leeds at home, and
I expect this to be a rude awakening for Leeds. They're going to see the standard of Liverpool. I think Liverpool are going to come up the traps, and I'm going to go for Mane to score in that game. Just seems like a very straightforward selection there. I was going to go for Chris Wood, by the way. That would have been my choice. However, his match against Man United has been postponed, so I decided to go for.
Right. So you're going for points early, yeah? Is that your system?
I'm just early game.
Points on the board.
First day of the season. Points on the board, exactly. Then I'll play around with it when I build up. You see, John last season, when he had a lead, he still didn't play around with it. He still went for the most obvious ones week in and week out, right? But I want to get a lead. So... I want to get a lead, and then I'll play around with it and choose the less likely ones.
Fair enough.
I'll wire through some money for that rent I owe you in your head so badly. Yeah, nonetheless.
And we'll go straight on to you, Mixel. Who are you thinking this week? Are you going to go obvious, or are you going to go for something a bit more out of the box?
I'm going for the person I think is going to win the Golden Boot. He's not won it for the last couple of years. I think Kane's going to score, so I'm going Harry Kane.
Right, okay. And you think he's going to win the Golden Boot this year, yeah?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Expand?
I think he's going to have one of the best. I think he's just coming off, obviously, a couple of injuries last season and the season before. I think, I don't know, I've just got a feeling that he's going to hit the ground running this season against Everton. He likes scoring against Everton as well. He's scored against Everton, a few goals against Everton in the last few seasons, and first game at home, I think the team will be built more for him to score. Not specifically built for that, but I just think the team he'll be the one scoring
the always
goals.
been built for him, though, isn't it?
No, I don't think that. I just think that the team, how they play, rather than how it's built around him a lot. Yeah, he will be the one scoring goals.
Can he stay fit long enough? That's the question.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with the chance of probably bocking us this weekend, but I feel like it could be a good time to play Everton as well. All these new players come in, they're not going to be bedded in, so.
Yeah, no expectation for them either, right? There's no pressure on them to start well, or it's like they can feel their way in. So,
but in all fairness, to drop into the next subject pretty quickly, actually, the internationals. Obviously, we've been watching them over the weekend, and Harry Kane didn't do too well in both of them games. Did you think? Well, neither did England as a whole.
He was saving it for Spurs.
Do you know? Did you see the Darren Bent tweet?
I didn't.
Darren Bent put a tweet out, which I thought was quite. I mean, obviously, maybe my Saints bias is going to come scorching through here, but he basically said sort of like, Danny Ings scores 22 goals and finishes one goal behind the Golden Boot winner, and his reward is 22 minutes of international football. Yeah. And he's like, and you wonder why Jamie Vardy retired early from international football, and you think
it's so right.
Actually, I completely disagree with that.
I was going to say, because I can see why people would agree and disagree with that. But Adam, I'll let you sort of like run with that for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, when you're building a team, it's not about people who are, it's about players that can play the style of football that you want them to play. I'm not saying that Danny Ings, can't play the style of football that he wants to play, because he's very similar in style to Harry Kane. The reality is, Harry Kane's your number one striker. He's your number one choice. So he's your captain as well. He's a leader, right? And you're seeing that he's probably got more stature than Danny Ings, with all due respect to Danny Ings. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do? Drop Harry Kane, or do you change your system to suit him? Then we're going back to the McLaren days. And do you remember what happened then? Didn't qualify. So
I'll give you this, right? Okay, I can't come onto this pod as often as I do and bang on about right players for right systems and disagree with what you just said, because I think you're spot on with that. I do wonder, like, particularly when I was watching the Denmark game the other night, Kane to me looked shot. He was out on his feet, but even at points in the first half, he looked. I would never say look disinterested. That'd be completely disrespectful to say. I don't know if physically he was where he should have been to be playing at a competitive level for the long stretches that he did over the two games.
And I thought that about a lot of them. Sorry to interject. I thought that about a lot of the players. Yeah. Yeah,
and Kane was far from the only one in that boat. But if that's the case, and I guess it comes down to what Southgate saw in training. I mean, I think we could talk about game minutes and so on all we want, but actually Gareth Southgate's had like a whole week with Danny Ings, watching what he can do and looking at his sharpness in training. So are the game minutes the most pivotal thing?
You're playing a short game. He's looking for Gareth Southgate's looking at next season's tournament, the Euros. He's thinking about, okay, what's going to be my team? What's going to be my style of play? And he did that last time when we went to the World Cup. He had a great World Cup, right? And he was looking at it, and we had the back three, and we were trying stuff out with Walker in the lead up, And he'll be looking now to build his team that he thinks that with players that he knows will be in there, right? Sterling will be a key player. Kane will be a key player. Will Ings be a key player? No, but he could make an impact off the bench. He'll be a key player if someone like Kane gets injured, for example. But
do you reckon he'll be the Jermaine Defoe to Wayne Rooney was back a few years, about 10 years ago at the World Cup?
I don't think. I think Greenwood's more likely to be that type of guy who can come off and score a goal. He seemed Defoe offered something different to Rooney. Defoe was like a poacher, and Greenwood seemed like he's got goal in him.
Well, Greenwood did prove he's capable of scoring at international level, even if it's not on the pitch.
That was an interesting.
Fair play to
though.
him.
That's a tapping goal. I think you got to give the pros to Foden there.
The press was
Great assist.
If you ask me.
The press were very forgiving of that, considering the worst case scenario. What could have happened? Sorry?
Can you imagine if that was Sterling? It would have been front page. Weeks and weeks. It would have been a public inquiry. That one would have been. It's a joke, isn't it?
The thing is though, so that one was very interesting because what could have gone wrong is they could have got away with that, and that could have then come out the next day, and that would have meant the whole match getting cancelled, and it would have meant the whole team having to self-isolate for 14 days. And that
then would have put the.
And you think the start of the season, yeah.
And what they're saying is, oh, come on, they're young lads and there's stuff like that. But then, realistically, there's also a level of, about being professional. It's they're not there for a holiday. It's not like you're there on, representing your country on a sort of national duty as well. You would have thought maybe, I know you might get bored in your hotel room, but still, be a little bit more professional.
I mean, did you see the furore the other way? We're probably going back a month now, but where you had the Celtic player who went off to Spain for a day, came back, didn't actually tell anyone that he'd been away.
I did hear about that.
And then he ended up getting their first game of the season cancelled, just through that sort of level of irresponsibility. And he was dragged through the mud, and rightfully so, by the way. I'm not saying that should be sticking up for him here, but it's like it is interesting. Like you say, I do feel like they've gone off lightly on that.
So by the way,
it could have been.
Were they successful in sneaking them in then? They must have been.
Apparently, yeah.
I don't know.
They must have been. Otherwise, they would.
There's a picture of
Techers.
Yeah. They
probably isn't their first time.
Strategy that is. Foden's got that strategy. Understand?
Well, World Emotion said you've got to pass it round the back.
This came up in a conversation with some other people, right? It's like I know it's a bit conspiracy theorist, but it's a case of that story wouldn't have broken had the two girls not obviously released all the kind of footage. But that sort of begs me to believe they're in a team hotel. I am certain that Gareth Southgate and his coaching staff would have some sort of inkling or awareness that there are things like that going on. So is it a case of that goes on anyway, but a blind eye is generally turned to it?
It's a fair question, but
it's only they've only had to deal with it because it's come out. Whereas if it was just a case of maybe I'm just making
if this was a year ago, you're saying is this a normality thing?
A year ago it would have been fine. A year ago it would have been fine, and they would have turned a blind eye to it. I think they didn't have the right protocols. I think what happened is this is a new scenario for the England squad. Hopefully, it's a temporary scenario, and we don't have to do this all the time. But I think it's just like, do you know what? We're going to trust the players. They shouldn't have, unfortunately. The couple of players they let the team down, unfortunately, and they've had to react to it. I think in the next time this happens, they will have the protocols in place. It'll be a lessons learned. But I don't think anybody. I think you want to trust your team and your players to do the sensible thing, especially now with how well they are trained, and they're quite disciplined people, right? They work every day.
Another thing should be said, regardless of COVID, Foden shouldn't be doing that.
Well, that's his personal life. I have no.
Yeah, but it's still wrong.
And let's not forget that England back on the pitch. let's not forget England were missing
Oh, yeah.
a world-class Jordan Henderson as well. So that's got to be noted as well.
Well,
Yeah.
it had to affect him. I mean, would he? He wouldn't have been letting that sort of thing go on in
Absolutely
under his
not.
watch, you know.
A skipper of his quality wouldn't let that happen.
That's just part and
Well,
parcel of
skipper.
being a world-class leader, you know.
I saw
Exactly.
Declan Rice. He put in a really good tackle, and I was just thinking about
Did
Sean.
he now?
Sean must have been like, "Oh yes, there's my world class."
I
Declan
didn't
Rice
say
as
he
well.
was world-class yet. I said he's going to be world-class.
Can I just ask a quick question? Because I was watching, but I was watching on mute, and so I didn't quite know who's this Phillips guy playing for England.
He's played from
Leeds.
Leeds.
From Leeds.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
He didn't look overly comfortable in the role,
No.
did he?
Then again, he was playing against Ericsson, so it's a tough sort of introduction to international football in my eyes.
Who, by the way,
I
played
did
very
see Eric
well.
Dyer get mugged off by
Oh,
Ericsson.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
That
Oh
was,
yeah.
There was a
Yeah,
lot
so-
of current and ex-Spurs
Beautiful.
players playing in that game, to be fair, as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Right, so we'll go straight back into the bet again, and I've been absolutely bocked this week, and I'm last pick. So
Hey, look at the draw, my friend.
I saw the live video that
Look
you
at the
done.
draw.
I know, but anyway,
It
John,
was drawn over WhatsApp on my phone, and it was doctored footage.
It was the
of
fourth
course.
time.
fixed.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been the first choice if that was the case. Trust me.
That is true, actually.
That's-
Yeah,
That is
That is
actually
true.
that is 100% correct.
That's how we know it's genuine.
yeah.
Adam,
Yeah,
true.
you
John
thought
would have
somehow
been
you'd have been fifth pick, and I don't even know if that was possible. Right, okay, let's have a think. So the Liverpool game's gone. The Spurs
Spurs
game's
game.
gone. All right, well, it's early doors then.
Ooh,
Oh, we're going for it.
going for the first one.
It's tempting. I've got 3 games I'm looking at, and they're all the remaining Saturday games.
I've gone right in the middle, so
Oh,
John, just pick the most obvious goal scorer from those teams. Let's have it done.
I'm so tempted to. Do you know what? Should I just pick David De Gea, even though United aren't playing, just to make you feel
You're
that a
on the
little bit
bench.
better? So I don't know what this guy wants me to do. It's a goal-scoring bet. It's like this guy wants me to pick fullbacks for life. I don't understand the guy. Yes, do you know what I'm going to say? You know we said we
for
were
the good
going to do
odds.
things.
Pick someone with good odds. Come on.
Right, you know what we're going to do? Shawnee said we were well researched this year. So I'm going to be well researched, right? And as a broadcast journalist, in the words of the great Bobby the Brain Heenan, I am going to go with what I have been preaching about. Right, we're talking about prolific goal scorers from last season, and we're talking about a team that I thought were going to be like a melt-in-the-middle chocolate pudding, right,
Oh,
in terms of at the back. So you know what, Adam? You gave me the idea, and I'm taking it. And I'm going early doors for the early game.
oh, no.
Pierre, Emma, Bamo, Yang.
Yeah, that was going to be my
Cheers,
choice.
mate.
So, yeah, that was
It was
going
going
to
to be your choice. You picked about 12 players and then made your mind up.
so
no.
not the first time you've gone for him, John.
be.
No, no, hey, listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Very true.
I think he went there half of the picks last season was Aubameyang. It was like Aubameyang or Mane. Aubameyang or
Actually,
Mane.
I need to actually do this and then, like actually do it properly and then share it. I had it so for the listeners. I had a document last season where I was tracking it every week, and at the end of the season, what I was meant to do, and then I forgot, was I actually had a column on there to summarise things at the end of the season. So it was like, John came top, obviously, with like 7. He was 17.
Yeah, all right, mate. Don't bang on about
By
it.
the way, didn't get a correct guess till week 9. So yeah, anyway.
Ooh.
So,
Anyway.
yeah, just throwing it out there. Gave you all a head start. But I did actually have a column for most used
My
player,
precious.
total amount of players used. So yeah. Right,
Okay.
I'm gonna get
That was a
So
nice
far.
little tease.
he just
So
like,
far.
I had to do column, but okay, go on. We also should add a column for the odds, by the way.
Right, yeah.
And we can see who picked the most
yeah,
unlikeliest of scorers.
I could get on board with that because where you
Yeah.
put the goal scorer and the team they play for, you also put the odds of like what they're like, whether it was like 5 to 4 or whatever. Yeah, I could go with that.
Okay.
We're always open to
But
making
then
improvements.
you can pick someone at big odds, but if they don't score, it just doesn't matter, does it?
Exactly, because it's a goal-scoring bet. This is what
True.
this pleb does not
No, but
understand.
what I'm saying is,
Adam,
if
Adam,
you
Adam,
pick-
Adam.
What I'm
So
saying.
you hang on. You need a plumber, so you're going to get a plasterer because they're cheap.
No,
what you're gonna do.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you should have especially, you should have the ability to try and say, let's have a look at who is likely to score. Because let's say, for example, I can see Burnley playing. I can see them pumping it into the box.
Okay.
I can see this, somebody like Chris Wood scoring. like I've done in the past, which has been the one that's
Because you haven't keep mentioning it.
What did I just do?
or a
I just gave
centre-back.
an explanation.
Okay, so why did you go for Mane?
Because I took John's strategy this season because I thought that we weren't going to worry about.
No,
Hang on,
no,
so hang on.
you didn't,
You're
'cause you
moaning
didn't
about
give
his
a reason.
strategy. Now you're going with it.
Yeah, I gave a reason why I went
Go
for Mane.
back and listen to the other pods. I give reasons.
Yeah,
And
because
you know what? I get things right. I get the job done. Okay? Right? The job is there to be done. Who gets the job done the most statistically is yours truly. Have some of that.
at the lowest odds. But we'll prove that this year. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Over
Oh,
to you, Sean.
Yeah. I feel slightly under pressure now. I feel like I've got to go for a centre half or something. But, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go for Timo Werner for Chelsea.
Oh,
I think he's
God,
going
man.
to start
This bet
quickly.
will break even, by the way. Do you realise this?
No, it's not. I've already got the odds up, so don't worry.
Right.
Yeah, no.
God,
He
could you
scored
imagine
goals.
if you bet? Sorry, Sean.
Go on, mate.
I was just gonna say, could you imagine if you bet a fiver for a fiver return on this bet? I'd be furious.
I'd blame Adam for not going for a defender.
Where's Glenn Murray, Mixer?
Oh, he's there. Where's it? Oh, is it? I read
He's
somewhere.
in what? He's in Watford. They
gone to Watford.
got Troy Adini and Glenn Murray up front together. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sean.
That's all right.
I completely
It's had a good
railroaded
mayhem.
you now. I'm gonna just calm down and mute myself.
Oh, it's a pretty obvious explanation. He's a goal scorer, as are the other three that we've picked. I was actually going to go for the guy we're going to talk about next, but seeing as everyone else has gone obvious, I just really bottled it and didn't want to let the bet down, so I've gone for a more obvious one. He scored a couple of goals in pre-season, I believe, and he's been playing well for Germany. I watched the Germany game the other night. So I'm hoping that he starts for a start, because Frank Lampard has done this to me before. But I'm hoping he starts, and well, I'm going to say I hope he scores for the bet, but I hope Brighton score too. So that's my sort of that's my reasoning behind it. The one I was going to pick but bottled it was Dean Garner, who we're going to talk about now, the whole West Ham situation.
In a great segue as well, Sean.
Cheers. Yeah, I wasn't actually going to pick him. I just needed it for the segue.
Beautiful.
No. Obviously, a very good player. Watched him a couple of times last year for West Brom. West Brom fans must be laughing now, really. 18 million, I think, is a steal. And Mark Noble, I wanted to get your guys' opinion on this one, because Mark Noble put a tweet out saying that he was sad. And the word that everyone's sort of picking up on is angry, which is about the sale of Dean Garner, because he was hopeful for his career and stuff. And I know Declan Rice, Wilshere, and a few other people have had their say as well. Do you think that's right of the captain to do that, or do you think he should have kept his mouth shut?
I just want to say one thing though. I saw the headline on that, which was like, "Oh, he's angry about it." Then I clicked into it, as you know, the headline's designed for us to do, to go and click in, and then you read it, and it was really much to do about nothing. He was just disappointed, right? He shouldn't have used those words because somebody jumped on the word angry, and it gave the idea that he was angry about it. But I think he was more just disappointed because he would have liked to have seen him go back to the club. I think it was a message to things. So I'll be honest with you. I don't think you should wash your dirty laundry in public. I think if you're upset, you know, he's obviously a big figure at the club. He should have mentioned it internally. It's not helpful doing that externally, I don't think.
Yeah. What do you think, Mixer? Do you think he should have kept himself quiet, or you
obviously,
if you was put yourself in as a West Ham fan, that's the way I'd look at it.
I respect everything he's done, and I think he's done the right thing. I think he's the fans. He is there. He is Mr. West Ham. He is their player. He's been there 20 years. He's a local boy. He's been the captain for yonks, who knows how long. And if he's got an opinion, he should be allowed to express it in whatever way he wants.
But he's not the manager.
Yeah, no.
And he's not in the ownership or in the structure of the club, right?
So that means his voice shouldn't be heard. As the captain of the club, as someone who's been there since he's a kid, he shouldn't be allowed.
There's a way of voicing your opinion.
Yeah, but how do you know? How do you know that he's not been listened to over however many years they've been there? Maybe this is the only way they listen to him.
It's not his place, right?
You said he should have done it internally. What if he's already done that and it hasn't worked?
If it hasn't worked, then he shouldn't. He really. I mean, what's it going to achieve? What's that going to achieve now?
So that everyone knows that he don't. I think he's done the right thing.
But what's the greater good that's come out of that?
The thing is though, footballers are sort of criticised for it's a game of two halves, all these cliches.
Yeah.
At least he comes out and he's got a bit of personality. I sort of appreciate that.
Obviously, in the nicest way, I'm supposed to not like him as a Spurs fan and a West Ham, but every interview I've seen of him, any time I've seen him, he has been one of the most well-spoken footballers I've seen on telly for years. He speaks about it. No, genuinely.
I wouldn't say well spoken, but I know what you
No,
mean.
but well-spoken in the way that he's like
Oh, yeah.
polite about.
I think it's
passionate,
passion. I think is what you're looking at.
And he
Yeah.
holds his own in a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And I just think I remember seeing him doing it. I can't remember what it was years ago now, but he did an interview on Sky, and I just watching it thinking, I'm not supposed to like you. Obviously, being a West Ham captain, you're just not supposed to. But everything he was saying, I was like, yeah, that's right. And I just think that someone that's been at the club for that long deserves to have an opinion, and his opinion heard.
I don't. I mean, of course he can have an opinion. Also, you can respect someone without liking them, Mix. You know, there's always always out. No, I know. I think that you do have to. I think, you know, like we've talked about how like clubs that are sort of run from top to bottom and there's like a real structure in place. I think this whole saga really shows you just how disconnected West Ham are as a football club.
Completely agree.
From top to bottom. And if I was a West Ham fan right now, I would be very, very worried. And actually, I'm in a position where I work with a lot of West Ham fans. I've got a few West Ham fans in my family, and from those that I talk to, like they're not very hopeful of the upcoming season, just on the basis that there's a real element of distrust from the fans towards the board. It's very obvious that seems to transmit to the players, because Wilshere also put out a sort of a corresponding tweet to Noble's one, and he made references to with Dean Garner to a good luck being like, I hope that you enjoy being at a club that respects you.
That's right.
And
yeah.
This is Jack Wilshere, who's probably played about 8 minutes for West Ham. You know, so
Yeah.
It says a lot.
Injured.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just wondering, what does that do for the club? How does that improve the club? So let's. I was watching, which I think has been really good actually.
Someone puts out, or every interview doesn't have to put the club in a better position. Maybe it's fair to express your feelings about something you're not happy about.
So yeah, which fair enough. But then is it place? I mean, I'm just thinking, for example, and also it's an opinion. It's an opinion that's not been proven, right? And I'm just wondering if I thought it was great insight watching the Amazon documentary All or Nothing with Spurs, and looking at Danny Rose and his reaction with Mourinho about not being in the first team. So he obviously thought that he should be in the first team, and he went in there, and you know, when he was there, he may have gone and spoken to the manager and said, okay, you know, I want it this way. Mourinho said one thing that was really interesting. In your opinion, Mark Noble, in your opinion, this is a bad bit of business. However, it's not your decision, and maybe you should have a little bit more respect for your manager and your hierarchy. That, you know, that's
like you say, his opinion deserves to be heard.
Yeah, I think it's all.
How else would his opinion be heard? There's no way he'd do an interview and do that.
It's all sort of hypothetical, isn't it? Because we don't know the way that Moyes is thinking. We don't know whether this is something that Moyes has relayed.
If it's anything to do with Moyes.
And he wants... Well, it's got to be something to do with Moyes. If it's a player going out, he can't...
necessarily.
Well, that's the problem then, isn't it?
Exactly.
Moyes must... Well, you'd like to think Moyes have reassurances, right?
Yeah, exactly.
As Moyes have reassurances of how this money's going to be used. But if I was I don't know what sort of player West Ham are going to attract at this point.
No, yeah.
Like,
exactly.
They seem to have a track record of attracting sort of either mercenaries or promising younger players from lower divisions.
Yeah, well, looking at a few of the West Ham social accounts, they're getting sort of frustrated, and they've been frustrated for years with this board anyway. But they're missing out on players like we talked about earlier, Jamal Lewis, who's gone to Newcastle, who could very well be a rival for places down there with them.
Yeah, I think Callum Wilson also.
Callum Wilson as well. Dean Garner obviously selling to West Brom, who obviously we're just being hypothetical here, but they will be fighting relegation possibly with West Ham, you know. So that's what they're disappointed with. That's what they're disappointed with, and someone like Shane Duffy choosing Celtic rather than coming to them. That's why they're getting frustrated.
No, that's a pretty straightforward move, isn't it? Going to sell if you're Shane Duffy.
I think
I don't know.
it was a heart overhead one, wasn't it? Isn't he a massive
apparently
Celtic
so.
Oh,
fan?
that's fair enough. Yeah.
Apparently so,
I mean, the interesting thing about West Ham, financially they seem to have got one of the best deals in the world with the lease of their stadium. So I don't know what their financials are, but if maybe they needed it for financials. I don't think it's all doom and gloom for West Ham though. I'm thinking. I mean, I'm expecting a very big season from Antonio this season, and that could be a very, very big. I know Sean doesn't agree.
And then he'll be gone in January.
I actually like their other striker. I like Haller. I think he's going to have a big season.
Well, I mean, maybe they'll do it together. What was the special quote that you said with Antonio? His second touch is it's a tackle.
It's a tackle, yeah.
Yeah, and then I like what I really liked was the timing of it, because then he banged 4 goals in like a couple of weeks later.
I mean, I worry with West Ham though that like I know what you mean. There are players there where they're a lot of use, but 1 or 2 injuries, and I know you could say that about any team. I get that, but West Ham really strike me as a team. If Antonio was to go down for not that I'm wishing this on like anybody, but if he were to go down for 3, 4, 5 months, I don't know, man. Like they're in a lot of trouble.
I agree.
You've got a point there. I mean,
they only just got away with it last season.
It'll be interesting to see what the impact of not having gate receipts, for the football matches is actually having on the Premier League. So it's really been. It's going to be essentially half of a season, 6 months without any gate receipts, and then I imagine I think the Premier League has also struggled with their deal with China as well, which might mean
I read that.
Yeah, they might mean that, which might mean they're forecasting for lower revenues coming up into the future. So maybe the ideas of the the Neymars for whatever how much ever million, or Jadon Sancho being worth 120 million. Maybe that's not really the case anymore, right? Because the only big spenders I'm seeing right now are Chelsea, and they haven't spent money for about 2 years, I don't think.
Yeah.
So
that's
and
true.
they're selling to buy as well. They're selling.
And the
big
thing is, they've probably still got the Hazard money.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. They've got all of that money sitting in their.
If you look, they're doing what Liverpool did 3 or 4 years ago, using the money that they got for Coutinho. I mean, Liverpool spent it on 2 players and didn't really spend any more than they got.
It was the 2 biggest areas they needed.
And look what happened to them.
Right?
A lot of precision there. Yeah, a lot of precision in what they chose.
And talking about big money, we'll talk about the bet back again. The fourfold this week is going to pay out. It's 13.16 to 1. So a £5 stake will win us £70.82. So it's not exactly the big money we've just been talking about.
That's because the most straightforward.
It gets in the green.
It's in the green.
You know what? We needed a Chris Wood or something like that. I don't know why Adam's not done that, to be honest.
I would have done Chris Wood. Hey, by the way, the only times we've ever won is when I selected Chris Wood.
I know. Next week. There's always next week.
He will be my choice next week.
Spoilers.
Actually, let me see who they're playing first.
Yeah, exactly. So keep tuned in, guys. As I say, we're going to be putting up that RTB 200 soon when we get round to actually making it. And then and we're back again next week with another goal scorer prediction with £70 in our pocket. I'm confident this week because we've got such obvious choices. So we'll be back again next week. And cheers, guys. See you next week.
See you later.
Follow my lead, boys. Take care.
See you later.
Bye.